All right, so I need to introduce myself a little bit. I love the fact when Corey's here. So my name is Jim Rose. I am the pastor of Congregational Care and Urban Outreach. So what's that mean? That means I get the privilege and the joy and the honor of preaching at our Buckingham location in the downtown area. And I love it. But I also have the privilege today of wrapping up the series on unpacking joy. See what I did there? Unpacking joy. It's a bad dad joke. Whatever. But I do have a question for you today. As we've just made it through this Christmas shopping season, did any of your shopping experiences look a little like this? See, I love Christmas. I love everything about Christmas. I love all the Christmas traditions. I love hanging the stockings. I love the stockings. I love the lights. I love setting out the Christmas trees. I love going to our shed and getting out tub after tub after tub after tub after. Okay, we got lots of Christmas stuff. I love Christmas. It's a great time of year. But the thing I hate more than, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to use that word? No. The thing I dislike more than anything else is buying gifts. I gotta let you know, I despise it. Why? Because I am a terrible gift buyer. Terrible. See, my wife, on the other hand, excelente. She's an expert. I mean, because here's what happens throughout the year. When one of the kids says, ooh, I like that, she breaks out her phone, puts it on a list. And when we say kid, I include myself on that list. It goes on the list. And so when Christmas time rolls around, all we've got to do is break out the list, buy everything on the list, or, we do 3 gifts per kid type of thing. And so we get all the gifts. My wife is perfect at it. It's all done. So we're good. It's an easy way of buying gifts. Me, on the other hand, I have the greatest intentions in the world. I really try. But something always seems to go wrong. To the point that my wife has started giving me a list. It's worse than that. So she started giving me a list, and one year I got the list and I still messed it up. So she started giving me a list, and so the list went from a handwritten list to the list was emailed to me with links. To the list was emailed with links listed in the order she would like to receive them. I'm just saying, truer words have never been spoken. Because again, I was just really bad. And I got to let you know, it all started way back when. See, because my wife and I, we were engaged on our second date, all right? We were engaged on our second date, and we were married on our 6-month anniversary of dating. Now that date of our marriage was December 7th, 1996. So we had only been married a few weeks before Christmas rolled around. Exactly. Bad. And so here's what had to happen. I had to figure out what to get my wife. Well, so we went, and so she had some younger brothers and sisters, and one of the gifts that she got her younger brother, that we got together because we're married, that we got her younger brother was a pet hamster. So we got this pet hamster. She played with this pet hamster. A lot of joy came from this pet hamster. She seemed to be very happy with this pet hamster. So what does a smart guy do? I'm observant. But I'm no dummy. I don't buy a hamster. Come on, get real. I don't buy a hamster. Buy two. I double down. Two love hamsters. Two love hamsters. Not only do I buy two love hamsters, because see, we're newly married, and so we got a lot more love than we've got money. And so on Christmas Eve, because, that's when you go shopping, right? So on Christmas Eve, we go to the best place to go shopping, Meijer. And so we go shopping at Meijer on Christmas Eve. And so she goes skedaddling over to Tools, I don't know. So she goes skedaddling. And so I'm like, hamsters, love hamsters. Well, what else does a love hamster need? They need a cage. Not only do they need a cage, they need tubes. Oh boy, do they need tubes. So I buy a metropolis of glow-in-the-dark, neon, rainbow tubes. It not only, when we set this bad boy up, does it go from the table to the counter, back over to the table, back over. I mean, it goes everywhere. I'm saying. First wedding gift. I'm saying, as a married couple. So what happens? Christmas morning, I wake up early because I spent hours setting this bad boy up the night before. Wouldn't let her come downstairs. I go running down the stairs. I get to the bottom of the stairs, and I wait. So she comes down the stairs, and I'm, because here's the deal. Because I'm wanting to fill her life full of joy, right? Because that's what I want to do. I want to fill her life full of joy. So I get down and I just wait. Now, this isn't the exact picture, but I just want to kind of give you a visualization of what it could have looked like. We're going to say that's not far off of what it could have been. Now, side note to this, pictures like this and gifts like this are why you need to be married at least 10 years before you should ever mentor another married couple. This right here is why. So just imagine the look that I thought that she was going to have as she came down the stairs and turned and looked, and the emotion that she was going to have because she stopped in what I thought was utter amazement. I have since realized that she was feeling other feelings at that particular time. See, in that moment, in my attempt to fill us both full of joy, it left us both empty a little that year. But what we both learned is what grace was all about. I'm just saying. I'm glad that was a good lesson learned 20-some years ago now. But I want you to go ahead and turn with me to Matthew 2, 1 through 12. Matthew 2, 1 through 12, as we look at some other people that were searching for a special gift that very first Christmas. So Matthew 2, 1 through 12. If you don't have a Bible, you're in church. Why not? But it's on the screen. You might have it on your phone. But Matthew 2, 1 through 12. By the way, if you don't have a Bible, we have some free ones in the back. Please grab one. They're free, and they're in the back. Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea. During the reign of King Herod, about the time some wise men from eastern lands arrived in Jerusalem, asking, "Where is the newborn King of the Jews? We saw his star as it rose, and we have come to worship him." King Herod was deeply disturbed when he heard this, as was everyone in Jerusalem. He called a meeting of the leading priests and teachers of religious law and asked, "Where is the Messiah supposed to be born?" "In Bethlehem in Judea," they said, "for this is what the prophet wrote. And you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judea, are at least among the ruling cities. For the ruler will come from you, who will be the shepherd for all of my people Israel." Then Herod called for the private meeting with the wise men, and he learned from them the time when the star first appeared. Then he told them, "Go to Bethlehem and search carefully for the child. And when you find him, come back and tell me so that I can go and worship him too." After this interview, the wise men went their way, and the star they had seen in the east guided them to Bethlehem. It went ahead of them and stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were filled with joy. They entered the house and saw the child with his mother, Mary, and they bowed down and worshiped him. They then opened their treasure chest and gave him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. When it was time to leave, they returned to their own country by another route, for God had warned them in a dream not to return to Herod. See, in this story, what we know is that the wise men in the Christmas story have always been the odd men out. They've always been the odd men out. First, there's not a lot that we even know about them. Do you realize that? We don't know a lot about them. Honestly, we don't even know what to call them. I mean, are they wise men? Are they magi? Do we call them like the song says, "We three kings of Orient are"? I mean, what do we call them? We don't even know. What we don't know is, we don't know exactly where they came from. We don't know exactly how many wise men visited Jesus. We don't know exactly when they arrived. But we do know some things about them. We do know they weren't women. How do we know this? If they would have been wise women, they would have stopped and asked for directions. They would have arrived on time. They would have helped deliver the baby. They would have cleaned the stable. They would have made a casserole. They would have bought actual baby gifts, none of this frankincense and myrrh stuff. Diapers. We also know that the wise men didn't arrive at the stable. Instead, they found Jesus in a house, probably closer to 2 years after his birth. And the other thing that we know about the wise men was after a long, long search, once they found Jesus, they were overcome with such joy, they worshiped him. The wise men or the magi shared something other that's pretty significant with, I'm guessing, all of us that are in this room here today. They were Gentiles. They were not part of God's chosen people. They were Gentiles. See, they were from the east, probably Persia or Babylon. See, the wise men were people who pursued astrology, philosophy, magic, dream interpretation, amongst many other things. Their ancestors were polytheistic, and they persecuted the Israelites. It's safe to say that they were formed in environments that opposed the Jewish concept of God. But see, these wise men were exactly that. They were wise. They were educated men who knew and studied sacred scriptures. They probably knew a whole lot about the Old Testament. So when they noticed a star in the sky like no other star that they'd ever seen before, they knew what it meant. And this led them to go seek out the Messiah, to go find Jesus. And when they arrived, they were filled with great joy. Once they saw him, they fell down. They worshiped Jesus and offered the best gifts that they had. They spent some time with him before returning home, carrying with him the truth about who Jesus was. That he was the Messiah, that he was the Son of God, and that he came not only to save the Israelites, but to save all the nations, to save everyone. So here's what amazes me. That the faith of the Magi was strong enough to compel them to undertake what had to be a costly and long journey to go find Jesus. The journey had to cover thousands of miles and take months and months to complete. But here's what I know. God's path, no matter how long or how hard, is the right path. And it will always lead to Jesus. See, God's path, no matter how long or how hard, is always the right path. And it will always lead to Jesus. Because our true joy is only found in him. It's only found in him. The most important truth in this entire Bible story, and let this sink in, that the most important truth about this entire Bible story is that the wise men found Jesus and worshiped him. Their joy was found in Jesus. See, some of you are looking for happiness, thinking that true joy and happiness are the same things. And you've been looking for it for a long time. See, men and women, we're driven by our appetites and by our beliefs that their actions will make us happy. We do what we do. You do what you do because you think in doing so that you're going to be satisfied. That you're going to find life, that you're going to be happy, that you're going to experience joy. But you know, you might be in this room today, and you might be, as we tell our kids, a grunt butt. You know, it's where we say, it's like, that voice. But in your spirit, that's what you are. And what you're saying is, I don't really even want to have anything to do with God. You know why I'm here? If I had to really say it, you know why I'm sitting here? Because I got a pesky girlfriend. Do you know why I'm here? I got a pretty pesky boyfriend or a spouse. You know, I'd rather be, the Bengals and Browns are on in just a little bit, and it's going to be here in just a little bit. My fantasy team, I got to set a lineup, and I don't care how good the preaching's going, but like it's championship week, and like just hang on a little bit because I got a receiver that I need to swap out because I don't really want to be here. I got better things and more important things to do than to be right here right now. It's grunt butt. But you're here. And why are you here? It's not because you want to serve God. It's because you want to get that pesky person off your back. So your pursuit of pleasure drove you into this room today, even though you don't want to be here. Everything you do is driven by your instinctive desire for happiness and for pleasure. Everything you do is driven by that right there. See, you and I, we're driven by pleasure. It drives everything we do. But the Bible, but the Bible. The Bible was written by God to guide us into a relationship with Him and to guide us as we live in relationship with Jesus. What we see in the Bible is that Jesus is better than everything else. He's better than everything. He is the pleasure that we seek. The Bible shows us that Jesus is the place where ultimately the most pleasure is found. We know that being in a right relationship with Christ is the space that most pleasure is experienced. It's where we get to find true joy. True joy. So, you're like, okay, I don't believe you. Dude, I don't even know who you are. I've never seen you before. You preach downtown. I come to second service. You're at first service. Ain't never seen your face before, ever. It's okay. I get it. So don't take my word for it. By the way, never take a preacher's word for it. Never take a pastor's word for it. Just saw my reflection, freaked me out. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. Gonna take a drink. Woo! Holy Spirit, right there. Woo! But don't take my word for it. Never take a preacher's word for it. Go back to the Bible. So in Psalms 4:7, here's what it says. You have given me greater joy than those who have abundant harvests of grain and new wine. So here's what David's basically saying. Let the rich have all they want. Let the world chase after all they want. Let them have it. It's theirs. Let them have it. Because when they get all they want, God's still better than all they got. God's still better than all they got. So let them have it. See, so grain and wine are symbols of wealth in the ancient world. They're like, Jesus, you fill me with greater joy. I don't care about that stuff. Your joy is so much greater. There's more joy to be had in you than there's to be had in all of that. See, that should be pretty amazing to us. That should unsettle us. That should unnerve us. Because how many hours, how many days, how many weeks have we spent in this American Christian culture that says I got to pull myself up by my bootstraps and that it's my job to get ahead in everything that we do? And where we're measured by the wealth of what we have. And see, it's not just about the wealth, because see, wealth is not what makes us happy. Wealth is not where our joy is found. See, what David is really saying here is that anything, not just wealth, is that anything outside of the will of God, and I mean anything outside of the will of God, will not bring you joy. We're talking true joy. Because true joy is only found in Jesus. So, where are you looking for your joy at today? Where are you looking for your joy? Are you looking for your joy in the hope that a good life would bring happiness? See, maybe you've tried to arrange your circumstances only to be disappointed, because I know that's my life, and I can only talk about me. I know that there's been times in my life where I've been like, okay, piece of cake, I want to get there. So if I do this, and I do this, and I do this, and I do this, I'm going to get here. Because I tried to arrange my life in such a way to get me here. And do you know what happens when I start arranging my life? I leave God out of it. Where the first thing I should have done is said, dear Jesus, what's your will for me to do? What's your will? And follow that. Don't worry what's next week, next month, next year. But Lord, let me do the next right thing. Let me follow your path. And you'll clear the way. That's me. I don't know about you, but that's me. See, happiness isn't something that we can create. We try. Jesus is the only one that can give us everlasting joy. Amen. See, but we've got to be we've got to be very serious about pursuing joy. And I'm not talking about cheap, transient, here for a moment, gone for the next moment type of joy, but eternal, soul-saturating, life-transforming joy. So how do we do that? Good question. How? Here's how. Couple steps. 1, seek Him. Seek Him. If you don't know who Jesus Christ is, if you've used the name Jesus Christ as more of a cuss word than as a relationship with Him, then you need to have a personal relationship with Christ. And I mean, you got to know His voice. He's got to know your voice. You got to be in the Word. You got to be praying to Him. You've got to be listening. You got to hear that still small voice. Seek Him in all things. You got to overcome that original sin nature. So I'm going to use a church term here. You need to be sanctified through and through. You got to have, as some people might say, you got to allow Christ to do a second work of grace in your life. You got to allow Him to take that original sin away from you. The desires of your heart need to be pure. You need to chase after Him. You need to lay the old man down and pick the new man up. You got to chase after Him with all of your heart. Not just give Him your sins, but you got to give Him all yourself. You got to love Jesus with all of yourself. You got to exemplify God's goodness and grace. See, we need to see people as Jesus sees them. And here's the hard part for a lot of people. I say a lot of people. Let me back up. It's hard for me. We need to be able to extend the grace to others that we want them to extend to us. We need to exemplify God's goodness and His grace to all. And we need to expand our reach to those who aren't like us. We get so wrapped up in our holy huddles. You know, and let me explain what that is if you don't know what that is. When you let out of church here, it's the 4 people you stand around.
That's right. Tell it, man.
Go stand around 4 other people. Get out of that holy huddle.
Imagine that. That's right.
Go meet other people you don't know. Expand your reach of who you are. See, we've got to love like Jesus loved. We've got to reach out to other people that we don't know in other situations and other circumstances that we don't know. See, Jesus has called us to love our neighbor. Jesus has called us to love our neighbor no matter where they live, no matter their mental health challenges, no matter their addiction issues, no matter their immigration status, no matter their sexual orientation, no matter their economic status, no matter their disability, no matter their voting record, no matter their homeless status, no matter their religion, no matter their race. See, Jesus has called us to love our neighbors, no matter where they are, no matter who they are. Jesus has called us to love. See, these characteristics lead us to a deeper joy. It leads us to a more pleasurable life, to a greater experience with God that fuels our ongoing relationship with Jesus.
Yes. Every day. Yes.
See, when the wise men saw the star, their elation propelled them into action. They couldn't sit still. Christ's joy is just that powerful. The same way it affects the wise men, it should also transform and motivate us to serve Him. So don't get your grump butt on. But are you serving Him? Are you serving Jesus? Pretty simple question. Do you just come to church and do you occupy space? Or are you serving Jesus in a true way? Is your joy overflowing? Or are you just here? Because He wants you to have joy, a joy that overflows like no other joy you can ever imagine. And when that joy overflows you, you can't stop but to serve Him.
All day. All day.
If that hurt you, I'm not sorry. See, a joyful life is the most appealing witness you and I can ever display to a lost and hurting world. See, people are searching for joy in all the wrong places. When they see us going through pain, when they see us going through trouble, when they see us going through conflict, with a calm and content and a peaceful mind, you know what that does? That opens the door for us to have a truthful conversation. It opens the way for us to share the message of our Savior and how He saved our lives, and about how we can have that life, about how we can have that joy in that conflict. So here's the good news this morning. God's gift to us this morning and every morning is a total stress-free gift of joy that's in God's presence. See, God's joy is a gift to us. Pure and simple, no strings attached. No strings attached. Thanks be to God that joy is not one more commercial product to be obtained, worked for, or purchased this Christmas season. It's not one more thing on our to-do list, not one more obligation to fulfill, or one more emotion that we've got to drum up. It's a sweet, simple gift given to all with an open heart. This morning, God and all of God's creation want to infect you with joy, and I hope that you're just not too tired to accept it today. So as I wrap up, I want to tell you this. That the story of the Magi, the story of the wise men, see, that's our story. See, God's used his prevenient grace to draw us closer to him. In our human nature, in our original sin, it pulls us away from God. It makes us want to oppose him and to be happy in our rebellion. We've pursued other means to fulfill our happiness. However, God continues to woo us, to draw us closer to him, to live a life full of joy. So as we, where are you this morning? As we wrap up this series on unboxing joy and get ready to start this new year, ask yourself these questions. Where does your joy come from? Has it been all about the rat race and trying to just get ahead? Has it been about keeping up with the Joneses? Are you just trying to get through the day? If you have little ones, are you just trying to get through nap time? Are you more concerned about your next social media post than you are your quiet time with Christ? If you've answered yes to any of those questions, maybe it's time to refocus your true joy where it comes from. Amen. Because, see, true joy is only found in Jesus.